Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to talk about the Patriot Act.
Uh-huh.
On February the 18th, Congress re-implemented the Patriot Act for 3 more months. Why does Congress wait until the 12th hour to make these decisions to extend the Patriot Act? That's a serious debate. And why don't they repeal? You know, the Patriot Act is actually an invasion of all our liberties. The roving wiretap, lone wolf, you know what I'm talking about, and business records.
Well, let me. Of course, I was not in Congress when most of this was debated and voted on and passed and so forth. So I can basically speak from just what I know historically about it, and then kind of bring you up to current day on it. The Patriot Act, for those who may not recall, was passed by Congress as a result of 9/11, because we saw where there was a lot of traffic communication going back and forth from these Islamic countries, the terrorists and so forth, and other members of those organizations within the country. And we said, if we're going to prevent these attacks, we're going to have to know what they're up to. We're going to have to uncover these plots. And so in the early 2000s, they did pass the Patriot Act. It was debated quite a bit. It passed with overwhelming bipartisan support, Democrats and Republicans alike. There were some issues with it, just parts of it that were challenged in court and went all the way up to the Supreme Court and were affirmed. So we may agree or disagree whether it's constitutional, but the Supreme Court found it to be constitutional. So that's the final decision about whether something is constitutional or not. What we did in this recent session where we renewed it, there was only a small part of it that was up for renewal. And so we extended that for 3 months, as you say. And all we were basically doing is continuing the status quo. To give you a little information, and some is secret, so I can't tell you. I'm told that the actual roving wiretaps has only been done 360 times. There are only 360 instances, so we're talking about a very limited universe. There have been a number of plots that were found and prevented as a result of the Patriot Act itself. So if you talk to folks in Washington who are honest with you, they'll tell you that it saved a lot of lives, and nobody knows of anybody who's been hurt by it. And certainly if you have been, and if something happened where your phone shouldn't have been tapped and they were, then you always have recourse through the legal system. But in general, this is something that is going after terrorists who are foreigners and their associates. And the typical average American who's going about his or her daily life shouldn't worry about it. But having said that, because we are under attack the way we are, we have given up freedoms. I mean,
They won.
I wouldn't say they won, but they certainly they won a battle, and that is to make life more restrictive for us. All you got to do is walk through an airport, and you find that out. So we've had to trade, over the years, we've had to trade some security, or some of our freedom for security. And I hope that we can have that back after we someday defeat terrorism. I certainly would hope so. Did you have a question?
Yeah, do you agree with Secretary Napolitano's use of the pat-downs and full body scanners? Or is that something, I know at one point there was a bill, I think it was proposed by Ron Paul, to try and eliminate that, or at least he gave a speech on the floor of the House about it. But is that something that you support?
Well, let me say this, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. The question is it worth going through? I mean, is it making us safer? And I don't have the data to say either way.
Israel doesn't do it.
Well,
Israel uses the
now,
profiling.
Israel, again, what I'm told and what we hear from the news is that Israel profiles, and they profile based on behavior. And I've been through their checkpoints, and it's very interesting because what they do is they have you talk to people, You'll go to a booth and talk to somebody, and then you'll go to another booth. Now, they didn't make me talk to more than a couple of people just for a moment, but they also knew I was a member of Congress in the United States. So obviously, I would naturally receive less scrutiny than someone from, say, Iran, or
Common sense.
Yeah, common sense stuff. I don't have the data on that except to say that Israel has never had a 9/11 disaster, so I think there's a lot to learn from that. I don't buy into this whole idea that you can't profile people and things like that. Israel does not profile people racially. They just simply look at who are the people who blow up airplanes. Okay? And I can tell you, it's not little old ladies in wheelchairs. And it's not babies who are carrying formula. But those are the ones who get put through the machines. So I'm like you. I think it doesn't match common sense. And I think we can do a better job. There may be still some things that we need to retain, maybe at least metal detectors and things like that, but we should do more in terms of profiling behavior. It's interesting. Part of the profiling behavior is just the demeanor of the person they're talking to. If they start getting a little nervous and jittery, or they're batting their eyes or something like that, and then they bring them in to talk to somebody else. You know, they have a very interesting way. I mean, it's hard to argue with success. They've done a good job.
The TSA, I believe it was the TSA who actually did a test to see how many fake bombs or guns they could find, and the TSA screeners missed 21 of the 22 planted guns and bombs. So obviously it's not working, but we're giving up freedoms for security, which Benjamin Franklin said those who give up freedom for security deserve neither freedom nor security.
Right. Yeah, I've heard those reports too. And again, you know, the problem with reporting, giving us some hard data on results, is that if we get the results, so does the enemy. And so all I know is the reports that I hear, just like you do, and I hear that they are able to smuggle things on. Of course, they're testing. But just even in the last 6 months, I've seen screeners get even more restricted. The last time I went through, on my way down here, let's see, I had to, of course, now you got to take your belt off, you got to take your shoes off, you got to take everything out of your pockets, you got to put everything through the x-ray machine. Then you have to go in this other x-ray machine for your body, and then after that, they felt around here. He said, "Do you have a money belt on?" And no, I said, "No, maybe it's just a layer of fat. I don't know." and then let's see. Oh yeah, and then they waved me with some kind of wand. I mean, it's just it's more stringent than ever. So, but they're getting you data all the time, and maybe they see a reason to do that. I will say that I do think that we need to reform that process, but how to reform it, I just don't have the information to make those kind of decisions. But like you, I have concern about what we're doing.
Well, obviously it's not working, and so far there are a lot of constitutional questions about if you can travel without having to basically be virtually strip searched or patted down in every part of your body.
Well, we haven't had another 9/11, so if you use that as a standard, it is working. But on the other hand, is it the best method? I don't know. I don't know that to be the case.
You believe there's going to be another attack in
Well, I think they're planning attacks all the time.
Right.
I don't know if it's that specific thing, but they're planning stuff all the time. I'm convinced of that.